Hello and welcome to the DVD commentary for the Tomorrow People. My name's Nick Briggs, but that's pretty irrelevant because I'm just a bystander in all this. But I have with me Philip Gilbert. Hello, Philip.
Hello.
Nicholas Young.
Hello.
And Peter Vaughan Clark.
Hello, Nick.
Hello. Do tell me who you played, because I'll only get the names muddled up.
Well, I'll start with me. I play Stephen Jameson, who is the young kid that's just about to break out.
And I play John, who's just about to be pulled into focus here, sitting in the lab.
And I play Tim, the ubiquitous computer.
And that's me walking down Shepherd's Bush Market with a few stunt people around because I start running down the road in a minute. And
of course, this is telecine. It was pre-filmed. This was made, in other words, made before we actually got into the studio. But there was a very tense atmosphere on the very first episode of the very first this new program, The Tomorrow People. None of us, of course, knew what to expect. When we look back at it now after 70 episodes and we realise what it's become, the feeling is quite different. But there was quite a lot of tension, I think, in the studio at the time.
I like that shot. That's a nice shot.
Yes, excellent.
I think we all liked the music. The moment we first heard it, it was brilliant music.
It's Dudley Simpson. There was a lot of talk of the Tomorrow People being ITV's answer to Doctor Who. And of course, Dudley Simpson had worked on Doctor Who for many years and continued to do so afterwards. Do you know whether that was a conscious decision by them that he was the sci-fi man to get?
I don't know. I think he was the obvious composer to go for.
Well, there was all sorts of rumours about David Bowie, wasn't there, doing one of the original themes for it.
It wasn't, I don't know. I mean, obviously the title came from a David Bowie song.
Did it?
Yeah. Sings about the Tomorrow People in one of his songs. That photo, a still version of that shot was used frequently for publicity purposes. And I think it was on the cover of the first video.
Oh.
So, of course, children watching this program will not have understood what was going on here at all because they've not come across the concept of breaking out and becoming a tomorrow person.
There's Ginge and Lefty.
That's Sammy Windmill, who was only in the first series, the first 13 episodes. So
There's the scrambled eggs.
Yeah, that was the original Daunting
Took an
Effect.
awful long time to sort that one out.
So here you have the original Tomorrow People, which was myself, Sammy, Kenny, who you're just seeing now sitting on Tower Bridge, supposedly, and Peter, who played Stephen. I remember when I saw this telecine being appalled at the poor quality special effect here with the chroma key. It just looked so unreal, and I hoped that wasn't going to be the way it was going to be in future.
I suppose we should have actually made him jump for real.
And now Tim.
Have a red outline instead of a yellow one.
Do hope we find him soon. He sounded so desperate.
Well, we all did when we broke out. At least I suppose I did. There was no one around to listen then.
So that's rather making the point that I was the first. These wonderful early 70s vehicles.
Amazing.
Late 60s vehicles, some of them.
I just love looking at the roads. They're so empty.
Yeah.
No one's parked.
It was a wet day in Teddington.
Yes, it was, yes. God, you couldn't get down there. There's a traffic jam every day.
Yes, you see.
It's progress for you.
A little bit of incidental music here.
There's Putney Hospital.
Yes, that is no more.
Oh.
Yes, that's Putney
Yeah,
as well.
Putney Heath.
Yeah. I was forced off the road by a drunken driver one night on that road while we were making the programme.
I actually went to that hospital as a kid once with a broken arm.
I had a foot operation in that hospital.
Not funny.
So you see our paths crossed at an early
At an early age, yes.
Yeah.
Report.
Oh. Jedikiah.
Yes, played by Francis de Wolfe, a very great character actor of his day. Very powerful man, very big man.
Old bod, wasn't he?
Yes, he used to turn up in an aging Bentley for rehearsals.
covered in dandruff.
That's supposed to be your mum, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. That's my mum. Mummy.
What? Now, what is she listening to?
Oh,
Very good
we
soundproofing.
We'll
in
never
her
know.
house.
we'll never know. I know it's still there.
Nice.
And she's still dusting, you see. She knows her place, like women did in those days.
She's quite a looker, old my mum, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's got one of those wonderful red telephones.
Stephen Jameson.
Yes, we are Scottish, you know, Mummy. We are. Stephen Jameson. I am Scottish, aren't I? Or descent.
Really?
I think, well, Jameson has to be Scottish.
It's a very
Stephen-
significant look here. It's a sort of Michael Caine school of
There's
acting.
a
This
photo
sort
of
of-
my dad. I've never met my dad.
I don't think you ever had one.
Well, no, she's phoning up.
Did she know who your father was?
She's phoning director inquiries to find out.
These are the sort of telephones that were only used in, for head of MI5.
Oh,
Yes, Stephen.
Yes, your son.
yes, your
Remember him?
son.
I know you haven't paid any maintenance for 10 years, but yes, your son.
Yes, I'm going over right now.
Now, you see, this is an example of a scene that's far too long, far too slow, no cuts. It's just boring. It's not her fault, it's just boring.
Good, let's see then.
Tim does some more clever stuff here.
Well, you see, this is the forerunner of sat-nav, isn't it, which everybody has in their cars nowadays. Not incredibly technical, this, but it's quite impressive.
That's not bad.
Terracross swords.
Yes.
They must have picked him up. I expect they've taken him to hospital.
So, Philip, you where were you during this?
In the first series, I think I was on the floor. I didn't go into my little cubicle for a bit of time. I just used to sit on a chair with my hands on, right just outside of the camera range.
Yeah, you used to have an orange box, didn't you?
Yes,
Put your script on and
eventually I had my own
like
soundproof
a
box.
microphone, one of those sports microphones.
Yeah.
But sadly, that was another thing they thought of at the last minute. They took no preparation over getting a decent, warm, rich voice for Tim. They literally threw
No,
it
they
together.
did something dreadful to the voice for the first
Yeah.
few episodes, but then they just abandoned it.
I remember them trying to get the voice. They literally threw it together in 5 minutes. They just fiddled about with a few effects, and it was mushy and unpleasant, where it should have been rich and warm. It did improve, but if you listen to it now, you see what I mean.
7 hours is the absolute maximum he can stay alive.
Nothing like as clear as it was in later episodes.
No, that's right. It's all bubbly.
Bit sort of
Again,
Dalek-y,
I was despairing. I thought, well, naff special effects and not a very good voice for the computer. Is this an omen? And then when you see the creatures they have later on in the episode, they were equally poor, I'm afraid, the Spydron.
But happy memories,
I was
nevertheless.
going to say, you did it. You did the entire series. You were whinging for all those years.
Gone with a whinge is what it was known as.
I was dreadfully wanting to come back. I would have been happy.
My first shock, actually, was meeting Peter in the canteen before we even started.
When was that?
We met in the Thames canteen.
Did we
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, we did, before we started the programme.
I thought we met on the windmill when we had the book photograph for this.
Tests and the X-rays that we've taken.
Perhaps it's best, for the record, for you all to tell us how you got the jobs in the first place. Philip, we'll start with you.
Well, I was asked to do it, and I turned it down. I said, no, voice, are you joking? I won't do it. And because I knew Paul Bernard and...
The director.
Yeah, the director, and a few other people, I think. So they asked me to do it, and I was very opposed. I didn't want to do it. But my agent, the lovely lady, Blanche Glass, who was with, Eric Glass's wife, said, oh, yes, darling, because you must think of all the repeats and all the things that are going to come out of it. And I did change my mind, and I'm very glad I did. Yeah. But I must say, this first day in the studio was absolutely horrendous. Do you remember that, Nick? I think they only got a few minutes in.
Yeah.
And the screams and the yells, and of course I was sitting in, and I could hear everything. And yet I was still supposed to be able to do my voice, and I could hear Paul Bernard screaming up in the box.
It's the old joke.
It was incredible. It was just horrendous beyond belief. And of course, after that first day, we thought, that's it. We'll never be seen again. Because Thames, I think they got 8 minutes or something like that, didn't they, in that first day?
Didn't get a lot.
It was the old joke of the floor manager having to translate the director's hysterics
It was
into
incredible.
into calm language and upset the actors.
I think that was what, when you just mentioned, Nick, the tension that was in the studio, I think they knew that it was going to be technically very difficult, and it was going to be difficult for everybody.
They brought Paul Bernard in because he'd done some Doctor Who's. And
That's right,
thought
he'd
it
done
would
some Doctor Who's.
sort of be a piece of cake for him to do this programme, but of course it was quite
And
different.
it was extremely complicated, the first.
Why do you think it was difficult? Because the studio weren't used to doing this sort of science fiction
I think
thing?
so.
That's
I think
absolutely
so.
it. It's all very well the BBC technicians were used to doing Doctor Who for many years. Thames were not. So it's all very well transporting the director, but if your technical staff aren't up to it, you're going to have a problem.
They were all in the dark, I mean, virtually in the dark.
Well, it was quite a baby company, Thames Television, in those days, wasn't it?
What?
No, it had the license since 68, I think, 69.
Was it 68, 69?
Yeah. That was ABC television before that, anyway.
But it was all quite a small setup, wasn't it, really, compared to the BBC and places like that? I mean, it's just 3 studios they had. And this was number 2.
Who was this actor? Neville somebody or other, wasn't it?
Barber.
Sorry?
And of course he's now one of the gays, sort of.
What does that mean?
I don't know. We can talk about things like
I
that.
don't
He
think
was
so.
on.
I guess it's breaking out, not coming out.
He was on. He was on television only the other day.
Oh.
Nicholas,
There it is.
how did you get the job?
There's the blancmange.
Bribery and corruption. I was working in my agent's office, as I had always done when I was resting as a thespian. When I was resting as an actor, I would always help my agent. And a brief came through for this new children's sci-fi program, and one of the parts sounded like me, so I was given the job of getting all the actors' photographs and CVs together. So I just made sure there were 12 of mine and 1 or 2 of everybody else, and it worked.
You cheated, in other words.
No. I just made sure I was included amongst the other suggestions. I think I went back for 3 auditions, and I'm not sure that everyone was agreed that I was a good idea. I was probably one of those choices where I was the only person that nobody particularly hated, so therefore, by default, I was okay. I don't think that Roger necessarily wrote the part with my sort of character in mind.
You were perfect for the job.
Well, as I say, I don't think he wrote it as I played it.
How would you describe the character as it turned out?
Well, he was supposed to be the son of a police sergeant, I think. I don't think he was supposed to be as perhaps as authoritative or dictatorial, if you like, as I actually played it. And even then, the sort of reasonably well-spoken character was becoming unfashionable. I mean, you see, Sammy is the same. We perhaps arguably are both from a slightly earlier era of television. But I think in a funny sort of way that worked quite well, because we ended up with a mixture of classes and types and ethnic backgrounds, indeed, once Elizabeth joined us. And I think that's one of the things that made it sell so well.
Well, this is, of course, the first sight of what eventually becomes the starting sequence, or something very like
Yeah, it is the title sequence, except that, actually this is better because it's got yellow in it.
I think this is
actually
the
black and
one
white.
with the white face that I was mentioned in the blue and the green.
Oh, yes.
This bit.
Which, of course, we haven't seen yet.
Of course we haven't, no.
Yeah.
No, when they painted my face white
Yes.
and
So
projected those
that
lines.
works well. It works well. A big thumbprint, obviously.
I got a hell of a rash from that, I remember.
What, from the thumbprint?
No, from the white paint.
Oh, right.
Yes.
It's very sweaty.
It is.
Well,
and
that
I've got
was
a
put
straight nose as well.
I think
before
Roger
the
liked them
car crash.
sweaty. Was that before you broke your nose?
Yes. I was just reminiscing about my nose then. I want to watch that again.
You see, again, we've got a playing the fool here, which I suppose they always felt was obligatory in children's television in those days.
Who are they? We're the next development.
I mean, maybe they felt, to lighten it a bit because...
being kids' programme.
Homo superior.
Some of it's quite disturbing, really, isn't it?
Well,
For
when
kids.
I played this to my children, who are of a different generation, when they were 6 or 7, and they found it all very frightening. They didn't want to watch it. Maybe that was just the view of their father, I don't know.
Until he became mad.
But all the kind of weird noises and stuff and the strange lighting they do, you could imagine that.
Well, apparently the title sequence was known to upset epileptics. And we did get some complaints about it.
Because the development of man hasn't just suddenly stopped. It's going on all the time.
Peter,
Yes.
tell us how you got the part.
Speed it up.
Well, I got the part when I was doing a show in Manchester at the Opera House when I was about 14, I think.
Anyone else?
And I was doing Peter Pan with Lulu, and I was playing John Darling in it. And I got a message from my agent saying a guy from the Tomorrow's World programme wants to meet you after the performance. And I thought, odd. But I went along with the flow, because I was a child actor, so I was doing other things, so I sort of knew, what these audition things were like. And I got to the stage door, and Roger Price was standing there, going, "Yoo." And he said to me, "Do you want the part in the Tomorrow People?" And I just said, "Yeah." I thought he was a nutter. I didn't know anything about him. He just talked to me about, this TV programme, explained a bit, and he said, "We'll send you a script, and you've got the part." And I didn't audition at all. That was literally that. And but I just went off and thought he was an absolute weirdo, just hanging around chatting up kids at stage doors.
And did you change your opinion afterwards?
No, not really. It was the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
It must be particularly, I mean, not being overly flattering to the other two guys here, but you were very different then. I mean, Nicholas and Philip look exactly the same as they did then.
I know. That's the trouble.
Philip's glowing here.
Yeah. I mean, I was a kid and I've grown up, and that's the awful thing about being associated with the Tomorrow People at my age now, is because I am totally different, but the character is quite a popular one. Because I suppose it was the first, the kids could relate to it, and the girls used to fancy me.
Used to fancy.
Used to fancy me. I used it in the past tense.
This was before your voice broke, even.
Exactly. Yes, I was all very high and sweet.
So you wouldn't even have known what to do if one of them had come up. And your agent did actually say Tomorrow's World, did they?
Yes, it was
a number of people who called it
Tomorrow's World. Yeah.
Very irritating.
And because I do know that Roger Price, with the drama school I used to go to, called the Professional Children's School, that Roger knew the agent.
Cretin School.
It was PCS, yes, that's right. And Roger used to know the agent, Roma Anzonia, and he wrote the character Stephen and the other John and Carol from some people that used to go to the school, the drama school. And I remember it was called Stephen Proctor, and if you look at the book, the characters they've drawn, the illustrations, they are actually look like the guys from the school.
Very dubious name.
Yes.
You know what a proctologist is?
So I suppose that he gave me the job because he knew that I'd done TV, because I'd done Dora Bryan TV series before this. So, and that's how I got involved in it. And enjoyed it ever since, and all the rest of my life.
But you see, Peter's just made the point. You said, what did I think Roger had in mind with the character of John? Well, apparently he had in mind somebody quite different from the Professional Children's School. I don't know why he didn't audition that person or see that.
No, he didn't want it. It was just kind of like he was using names, I think, because he knew the kids there, because he used to go up to the school quite a lot.
But I think you could ask any author how much the actors bring to a particular character, whether the actors actually interpret the character as the writer wrote it. Now that's interesting. You see, the very first time I jaunt in, I'm facing the wall.
Yes, facing the wall.
And don't quite know what to do, because it's the first time we've really done it.
It's probably Tim's fault for giving the wrong coordinates. What do you think?
It was Tim's
I
fault,
never
certainly.
gave the wrong coordinates. It was impossible. And they all had their jaunting belts in those days, if you remember.
Version 1.
Which they had to touch, apparently.
Oh, we did.
Before they took off.
That's right. We hold the buckle. And the lovely...
And where they disappeared to, or why, I'm not quite sure.
And the lovely Kenny had this brilliant line, which she underplayed totally. I think they did, Tim.
Yes,
as if he couldn't have given a toss. And it used to make us laugh.
And me shine. I used to like doing scenes with Stephen.
That's right, yeah.
Stephen Salmon, that is.
Here's this incidental piece of music, heavy fuzz box on bass.
They're going the wrong way. That's to the car park.
Worked as a shot, though.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
And here's the white polo neck sweater, which was so trendy in those days.
Yes. A defining image of the series, I think. Yeah. Now, what about Sammy Wimmer? What are your memories of her?
Something about it.
Well, I liked her very much.
TP babe, isn't she, really?
She was badly advised, I think. She didn't want a career in television. she was very much interested in the stage. And so she left, I think, after... Was it just the first series that she did?
Yeah, she did 13 episodes. She, like John, she was very clean and wholesome, and when she went, I was the only one left.
Oh, there is Jedikiah.
Yes, he had tremendous presence, did Francis de Wolfe. He was about 6'5" or so, and very burly.
But Sammy went into... I remember I went to see her, and she played Ophelia, the opening production at the Redgrave Theatre in Farnham, and she was really very good. But like so many things, it just didn't work out.
She was doing Doctor in the Charge or something, wasn't she? She was doing some of the Doctor series.
Was she?
As the nurse.
Yes.
Well, believe it or not, I had a glittering career as an actor before the Tomorrow People. I just didn't have one after. But I was looking at some old clippings the other day and seeing my name above Nigel Hawthorne, who, of course, is now Sir Nigel.
Sir Nigel, yes.
So what went wrong there?
It's nice to have.
He was a crap actor in those days anyway. It's a great face, look at that.
Yeah.
Wonderful character.
And I think he
James
enjoyed
Bond.
himself. He enjoyed himself in this.
Oh.
Yes, that was...
I've been shot, mate.
Oh, is this it? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, Sammy Wimmer got top billing in the first one. Look at that.
Good Lord, it's an outrage.
Yes, well, it was the old business of ladies first in those days. It's a very old-fashioned concept nowadays. And quite right too, in my view. All in favour of female equality. So my wife tells me.
Well, there we are, the first episode. But you can't wait for the second one.
No, you see, that was really left on a high, wasn't it? Real excitement there. Two producers and a
Paul
director.
Bernard.
And a dodgy lamp.
Yes.
Well, I would really want to look forward to next week.
Oh.
That's you.
Tomorrow people are never alone. You can talk to any of us, anytime you like.
It's a teaser for the next episode, isn't it?
No, it's the usual business of they were short of writing by about 5 minutes. They needed to fill up some blank space.
Didn't know this was coming.
Carol?
No. Nicely done.
John? Carol, can you hear me? Oh, come in if you can hear me.
You are wasting your time. The band around your forehead is a silencer.
I mean, I remember him very well. He scared the hell out of me.
Your friends cannot hear you.
Because he's a big actor.
He was
He's a lovely guy, but I mean, I was very small. I was only about 4'9".
Whatever they used to call it, Nick.
Sorry?
He was a shape changer, wasn't he?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
this wasn't really him at all.
Well,
No,
that was a trailer.
But seriously, it was because we were short. There's no question. To finish the episode, in fact, but it works well. It works
It's nice, isn't it?
It's better to have an epilogue, in my view, than a very lengthy prologue.